This is the Speakers Club Awards 2018 with your host Andrew Mohammed and Lady Essie.
Okay, so as I said, Speech of the Year, the nominees were Sadiq Khan, Donald Trump and David Lammy MP.
Donald Trump.
So, can we give a drum roll please? You voted, and the Speech of the Year was for Windrush. Mr. David Lammy MP.
Totally. Fantastic.
Yes, you can.
If Donald Trump had won this too. Now I want to talk serious for a second. Hold us a minute. This man's mother used to be my nanny. Wow. When I took my seat to give it to Amber Rudd, who was Home Secretary, about Windrush, I had running through my head what my mother used to say to me: live up to your ancestors' prayers. And when she used to first say that to me, I didn't really know what she was saying. I thought she was talking about grandparents. But what she was talking about was that we come from a people, an enslaved group of people, who were brought from the continent of Africa against their will. And some of those folk didn't make it. And they prayed. They prayed that we here would live up to their prayers. And as I sat there knowing that I had to give the speech of my life on behalf of my parents and their generation, that Windrush generation, and I know this audience will understand this, these are a people who arrived in this country after the Second World War. And these are a people who gave so much but took so little. And I was going to start with my father arriving here in 1956. But I realized that I couldn't start there. Because if I started there, there was a chance that tears would come running down my eyes and I wouldn't get through the speech. And there's no way a black man can stand up in the House of Commons and start bawling his eyes. So I started where the story begins, because the story did not begin in 1948. West Indians did not arrive here because we were simply immigrants. We arrived here as British subjects, because of course we were British subjects. Britain came to us and made us British subjects. So you don't get years later to take that away and send us back across the Atlantic. In the end, she lost her job, Amber Rudd. But it is still the case that there are people of African and Caribbean descent who are struggling in this country and back in the West Indies because of what happened. And they still have not announced a compensation scheme. And let me just say, when they say compensation scheme, because we didn't get reparation, this time we want a proper compensation scheme. And so you have to know your history. And it is a history that runs through the job that I have to do. This is a year in which we have watched the murder rate in London overtake New York. This is a year in which, and many of us, it's hard to be black in this country and certainly in London and not have family who lives on a housing estate or has passed through one of our housing estates. And I certainly know, I grew up in the Croydon block of Broadwater Farm. And when I saw that fire in Grenfell, I knew I would know somebody. Because we all know somebody who knows somebody, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that fire was a preventable fire and should not have happened. Mm-hmm. And when we look into the faces of those people that died, we see our own families. Mm-hmm. And when we hear Donald Trump and the nonsense that comes out of his mouth, we know who he's got in his sights. Mm-hmm. So this is a serious time in which we have to stop the nonsense. We have to stop the self-hate. We have to listen to the words of Bob Marley. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And we have to rise up. And I worry sometimes, because in a way, you know what? Yes, I am in a position of leadership. I get to stand up in the House of Commons and speak on behalf of the community. But one of the things about our community is that we do not come together sufficiently. Because you know what? The one thing the black community has is the most beautiful black women possible. Just imagine if in response to Windrush, all the black women in this country had walked down from Trafalgar Square to Whitehall and stood outside number 10. Man, reparation and compensation would come. So we need to organise. We need to be together. It's not just about the leaders, it is about each and every one of us living up to our ancestors' prayers. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, I've got 2 mics now. Okay, thank you, David Lammy.